Are we recording? Oh, here we go. So hang on, because I need to get this clear. So you're not a... Well, what is it you actually are? How would you describe yourself? You're not a clairvoyant or...
No.
No.
I do human design and astrology readings, and I also offer mindset coaching and yoga and meditation teaching. So a few different modalities, but I don't like see into the future. I get little hunches about things and feel intuitive, but not a clairvoyant, no.
Okay, so... Sorry?
Well, I was going to say, why don't we just find this out in the episode?
Well, haven't you pushed record?
I have pushed record, but normally we cut this stuff out. Anyway, I'm going to just start because...
Oh, so he gets so, he's so finicky.
Somebody's got to take the lead, Hannah. Guy. Pardon?
You. Okay, where you go?
Okay, so... Welcome back to the brink.
Oh, wicked. That was amazing.
Great start.
Yeah.
The podcast where we tackle big ideas and deep conversations while trying our very best to hot mess ourselves. Today we're honoured to have Hannah Crerar with us, an expert in the field that neither of us know anything about, which is human design, a system that blends ancient wisdom and modern science to offer a detailed roadmap to understanding yourself. This isn't just a theory. Hannah has taken the time to analyse our human design charts using our own birth details to help us better understand how we're wired to make decisions, connect with others, and navigate life. We're going to dive into the core of human design, explore how it can create alignment and flow, and maybe even uncover a few home truths about ourselves along the way. So, if you've ever wondered if there exists a blueprint for your life or yearned to live a life that's resistance-free and grounded in authenticity, this episode could be for you. So, welcome, Hannah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. You're mad
Great.
Taking that punt, but anyway, here we are.
Thanks for having me. No, it's an exciting topic to explore, and it's always fun to do readings for different people because charts are very nuanced and individual, but I think for your listeners we can talk about the 5 energy types because I think there's something for everyone to kind of take away with that, but diving into personal charts is quite a fun way to explore the system.
It'll be revealing.
Well, how did you get into this?
And what is it?
Yeah, what is it like?
So human design essentially is a blend, kind of like what David was saying, of modern wisdom and also ancient wisdom. So we look at things like astrology, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, chakra system, and then it also takes account of quantum physics and genetics. And basically it produces this information that is a snapshot of your soul's blueprint, and it gives you really practical and tangible advice as to how you can make decisions in your life and how you're best designed to exchange energy with people. And the way I stumbled upon this system was I actually, interestingly enough, I studied law and commerce and went and worked in the legal field for about 4 years, and I never really found, I guess I was yearning to add value in the world in a way that I wasn't really able to in that field. And so I went and pursued yoga teaching and studying psychology because I always wanted to work with the body and mind in some capacity. And then as, you know, the universe works in these funny ways, I found myself at a health retreat where I was working for a little while. I provided a yoga class in exchange for an astrology reading. And that was a really pivotal moment in time because I received this reading that really beautifully articulated things that I felt inside of myself that I'd never heard anyone else give language to. And that just set me on this path of exploring more and more. I'm a very curious person, and anything that speaks to the human condition I get really obsessed with. And so I went and looked into astrology, and along that path, human design got brought up, and that was another system that I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it just was another tool in the toolbox. And so that's how I found it. And I guess one of the best ways to understand it is to kind of get into more of the nuts and bolts.
So you're self-trained, so you didn't go into a course or anything like that, or you just trained yourself?
I did do a reader training, but there's also a lot of self-teaching that does come naturally. Like I've read the books, and I've also just learned through one, applying my own human design and learning through my own life experiences, looking at friends and families' charts, and then now having done readings for hundreds of people, you can start to see how it works. And just
wow, that's amazing. Like, so you went from being a lawyer or like a high end, what do you call it? Like, I guess you're a business graduate, to going completely the other way.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was like a left turn or something that I guess people might not have expected, but also maybe they did, because I've always had a bit of a spiritual curiosity. And even while I was working in that legal field, I was pursuing yoga teacher training and looking into those sides of myself. So that's always been alive within me, but actually pursuing it as more of a career. That was a bold choice.
Oh no, it's a mean choice. And you know what? Like, just from listening to you, like, you're super articulate. You come across like amazing. Hey, like, how old are you? Like, do you mind me asking?
No, I'm 33.
Far out. Just a little baby.
Yeah, well, compared to us.
Oh, well, congratulations anyway. Like, it's
well, his energy's already improving because it's been feral all morning.
Oh, that's not very nice, David.
It's true, though.
Well, he did interrupt me. I was meditating. And he came and he banged on the door. He said, "G'day, I'm here." And I'm like, oh, are you really?
Not you again. But before we get into going through our readings, Hannah, just a couple of things, because I listened to a few. I did a bit of reading on human design because somebody's got to. And I listened to a few podcasts, and I could not make heads nor tails out of most of them. Like, there was a lot of complex terminology, stuff I didn't understand about words like somatic this and chakras and da-da-da-da-da, and all of that's fantastic if you understand the field. A lot of it sounded kind of fruity and a bit hocus pocusy, but I don't think it's about that, is it? Because I did hear one person talk about the fact that it's not really, it's spiritual maybe, it's not necessarily religious, like it's not something you follow or adhere to like in a religious capacity. But also what interests me about reading on it was the fact that it's a combination of like ancient wisdoms like Kabbalah and bits and pieces, which again I know nothing about, but modern science. So like, can you explain a bit about what sort of modern science and how that integrates with spirituality? And the ancient systems as well, if you can explain that. Please do.
As well.
Okay, so in terms
we know nothing.
And I think it is an important thing when we are, I guess it depends who you're talking to and what kind of language to use, because language is a really important thing when it comes to translating systems like this. And I think when it comes to the human design system, there are definitely terms that can feel a little bit jarring or confusing, and in terms of the scientific side of things, which can sometimes make people feel a bit more comfortable or trusting in the system, if you imagine, because obviously the system, the way that you generate a chart is based on your birth date, time, and location. And so, we have these other kind of, if you look at like personality quizzes, like a Myers-Briggs test, that's based on self-assessment. So you're answering questions about yourself, and then it kind of produces I don't know what the different profiles are, but with human design and a system, say like astrology or Kabbalah, you're looking at something that's more just intrinsic to who you are. You can't really provide, it's not biased in that sense, because you're not providing answers about yourself. It's literally just the portal that you were born into, that specific moment in time is a snapshot. And when we think about, because it's based on kind of where planets were at the certain moment that you were born, and if you think about in general, when planets are moving and we've got these different cycles of light and time passages, that's essentially what astrology is looking into. We know that light and time affect our endocrine system, our sleep cycles, our metabolisms, our vital functions. We know that the moon's phases affects the tides, and we are made up of 70 to 90% water. So if we can start to sort of extrapolate that out, we can see that there is an influence that planets have on us. And if we want to start to use potentially more scientific terms, there's something known as neutrinos, and basically as human beings we are swimming in the sea of neutrinos, and it's this it's information that's contained in these subatomic particles, and when a person
And what particles? Sorry, and what particles?
Subatomic particles, so these tiny little particles. That's what, it's the energy that's surrounding us essentially. And you might have even heard of when a child is born, we're being psychologically conditioned, even in utero. There are studies that show that. And if you think about that moment that someone's born, when they take their first breath, the lighting in the room, the way that child is held, the sounds that they're hearing, the mood, like all of that is making an imprint on that child. And if we can understand how that energetically impacts us, what's going on in that room, if we zoom out a little bit and start to think about, okay, there are also planets orbiting the sky in different places, and the significant impact that has on us, even though they're further away, it's actually a deeper impression that it makes on the body, and it provides this essentially energetic signature in terms of the way that then you operate in the world. And that then gets visually represented in a human design chart or in an astrology chart. And the way that then you, I guess where it's like, let's scientifically prove it, one of the best ways is honestly to just receive a reading and then see how it applies in your life, because that's going to be the greatest point of validating. And like David was saying, it's, it's not a religion. Experiment with it, treat it lightly, have an open mind, and then see what works or what lands or what doesn't.
Before we start, can I just ask one question with regards to the details being related to time of birth and place and everything like that? Why specifically the time of birth as opposed to like the date of conception? Because presumably, like the fetus during that 9-month period is
David.
Thank you. Is under some influence, whether it be the food it's getting from its mother, the planets, as you say. I don't know, maybe the mum drinks. Who knows? But why specifically the time of birth?
No, that is a really good question. And again, I guess you can look at it from maybe a scientific lens or an esoteric lens. But I guess when it comes to when you are on Earth and you take your first breath, that's when you are allowing life to enter you in some way. But I mean, it is a good question. And even when you look into human design, if you want to get even more kind of nerdy, you've got these two sides in terms of the chart, where one is the date of birth, and then which is known as the conscious part of your chart, and then there's an unconscious part of your chart which actually rewinds back to 3 months before you are actually born. So it's not the date of conception, but some people talk about this as the time when the soul enters the body. And
Okay.
I don't know, I don't have those answers, but in terms of the actual moment of birth, people also sometimes come to me with questions like, I was a preemie baby, or this was supposed to be my date of birth, but the moment that your soul has chosen to come through is like that. It's all destined, even though maybe there's intervention medically. It's essentially, I guess, from more of a spiritual standpoint, it's all predestined and chosen in some form. So
interesting, because one of the reasons I asked was because when I was in utero, my parents were renovating their house, and Mum was varnishing like timber in the house. So I think
You got high on
I took in a lot of polyurethane, which would explain a lot about
explains everything.
It does, doesn't it?
Maybe my mum was doing the same thing. Jesus. Holy hell. Yeah.
I still love that smell.
Well, it's really fascinating. Like, it's really, because I was looking forward to this, but like, I didn't think that it was so in depth. Like this, like the ancient wisdom and all that stuff I'm really into, but I didn't realize that there was a scientific component to this as well, Not that I know a lot about the ancient stuff either, but, I feel that that's probably more down my alley.
Yeah.
Up my alley. Or
Shall we just go into these readings, and then
I'm a bit worried about these readings now.
Who shall we start with? Should we toss a coin, or do you want to take the lead?
Start with David.
David? Okay. Well, first of all, I think what could be useful is to just at the outset mention that with a human design or an astrology reading, there's so much nuance within a chart, and you could honestly explore your personal charts for a lifetime. But one of the key things that we look at in the human design system is something known as energy type. And there are 5 energy types. So obviously there aren't just 5 kinds of people in the world, but it's the first layer of distinction when you're looking in the chart, and then you kind of branch out from there. And when we're looking at energy type, it's the way that you're designed to it's not the way you're designed to make decisions. It's the way you're designed to energetically connect with people. And if you think about when you walk into a space and maybe you pick up on vibes, like, maybe it feels like there's tension in the room, or maybe I'm really magnetized towards this person. That's kind of like our aura, which exists like 3 to 6 feet out beyond our body. It's communicating with the other person's aura. And if you look at the way, if we're talking about children being really close to, or oftentimes children are very free in the way that they operate, and it's often, I think that was lightning. I'm not sure. Flash.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that? I thought that was like a little glitch, but it was lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it flashed behind your head.
Yeah, it's a warning.
Oh, shit. This is getting deep.
Some deep info is about to be released.
Holy hell. I was like, did I just get a flash from God then?
More like from downstairs.
Shit, that was weird. Yeah. Sorry.
I've lost my train of thought now. So I guess when children...
you walk into a room and you've got that, your aura, and it's a 3 to 6 foot, which is fascinating.
You're following on. So what I was just saying with children being really, they're very pure, and when you connect with a child, they're close to who they are authentically, and it's often over time, based on conditioning, that we sort of start to become further and further away from ourselves, when maybe
so weird that you talk about
so bizarre.
We literally have been like deep diving this just in our side chats.
Like just watching my son, my youngest son, how he is just so empathetic and just nurturing and caring, and and I look at him, I'm like, oh, wow, I just hope that he keeps that for the rest of his life, because it's his magnetism. Like I'm drawn to it, I'm just like, wow. And yeah, it's funny how as we go through stages in our life, or as we go through life, and all the junk gets implanted on us or imprinted on us, how we lose our sense of self, which was, because we were talking about that yesterday, about the child, that child inside you that, like he said to me, mate, you're still such a child, I'm like, yeah, because that's who we kind of are, do you know what I mean?
It's like just peeling those layers back to get back to it. It's all there in us.
Wow, that's it's so funny, because when you were talking about that, I just thought about Kenzo, just straight away. I was like, I just so hope that he remains how he is, But
that's a parent's job then to
totally. I talk to him about that all the time, he's looking at me like, okay, but yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, the guy who, there's another part of the story, but there's a man who channeled the system of human design, but he said that it was ultimately designed for parents so that they could then nurture their kids in a way that is in alignment with who they truly are, rather than trying to fit them into this societal mold of what we should do and what this one route to success is supposed to be, where it's actually about, it's called the science of differentiation. So it's about really valuing the uniqueness of every individual, and not putting. Yeah,
that's so you are so you're at the forefront of the change in the way we operate as humans, I reckon. Because all the stuff that we was talking about the other day, just like when you go to school and you sit in a class and you're just throwing this rubbish, and you're like, oh my God, how they just like tuning us out to be employees. They're not tuning us out to be creative, or,
it's demoralizing,
it's right? Just so and I send my kids to school, I'm like, oh man, I feel so stink. I just want to go, hey, should we just go and play? Why don't we just go down to the park and run around? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, no, get in the shit. But
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like it's just,
I
yeah.
think we will see the world start to change, and obviously it's slow, incremental ways, but the more that people can have this awareness, I think the more we'll feel that permission to do so. And I think, yeah, really nurturing the childlike essence within not only your children, but within each and every one of us. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess when I'm also thinking about children, when they're really, really young, they're not actually, you can't communicate with words. And so you learn to read energy. And so all of us are actually really clued up when it comes to reading energy. But oftentimes our logical mind can come in and trip us up and think, oh no, we're just being silly. Or, if you do feel like, oh, I feel really drawn to just say something to that person, or, oh, I really need to leave the situation. But when you get those kind of hunches that come out of nowhere, instead of questioning yourself and going into more of, well, that's not logical and this is what I should be doing, I think it's good to just have I guess a bit more self-trust, and sometimes using systems like this is what we need in this day and age when there is so much emphasis on, no, just follow the logical path.
Yeah, agreed. We're singing from the same song sheet. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, shall we proceed?
Sink our teeth into it. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you've got these 5 energy types, and you two are different in terms of your energy type. Obviously, there's lots of differences in your charts. There's also similarities that we can speak to. But if we are starting with you, David, then we're speaking about the manifestor energy type, and so manifestors comprise about 9% of the population, and I actually don't often like to talk about the percentages in terms of how much of society are in this group, because to be completely honest, when I found out my own energy type, it's like the most common one, and I actually really didn't like the system because I was like, I don't want to be, my ego stepped in and was like, I don't want to be common. And
Yeah.
Mine just went, phew, I'm not ordinary.
Yeah. But when I actually started to apply the information, that was when I was like, okay, wow, there's definitely something.
I also see, I've got a list of the 5 types here, and one of the first words I see under manifest is trailblazer. So I'm sold.
Yeah.
So
manifestors, their role is very much to kind of innovate, disrupt, initiate things. And when we think about auras, so that energy that gets brought into a space, a manifestor's energy is designed to be impactful and big and to kind of make a splash in some way. And what's really important is to think about in terms of if anyone's listening and they've figured out they're a manifestor, we're speaking about energy. It doesn't mean that someone has to be like loud and rah-rah or aggressive or command that attention in a way that's like really vocal. It could actually be the quietest person in the room, but their aura is very impactful and it kind of turns heads, or it has some kind of force behind it. And the reason for that is that manifestors are here to start things, to initiate things, whether it's conversations, relationships, projects, whatever it is. It's about disrupting and doing things that are new, that are blazing a trail, as you said. And so when it comes
that makes sense. Yeah. For you.
Yeah. So with that kind of aura, it can be polarizing. So it can be people are either really drawn towards it or really turned away. And that's actually the way that it is supposed to be, where a lot of manifestors can actually, especially if we think of children, perceive that sometimes as personal rejection if people are polarized or turned away from this kind of energy that you bring. And that can then translate into either being really rebellious or forming into more of a people pleaser mode.
Tick, tick.
Wow, that's unbelievable, eh? Holy smokes. Yeah.
So one of the biggest, I guess, conditioning pieces is around, making sure that you are giving yourself permission to potentially rock the boat or ruffle some feathers where it can actually be quite scary, and to recognize that if there is rejection or people aren't turned on by what you're doing. It's not personal. It's because as a manifestor, part of your purpose here is to bring something into the world that hasn't necessarily been brought into it, or take a different stance on something, or whatever it is that you're initiating. It's definitely about, if you think about, I like to use the analogy of a train driver. So a manifestor's energy, a train driver doesn't go around and ask each passenger, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And they say, this is where we're going. This is where the train's going. You have a choice as passengers to either hop on board, or if you don't want to go to this destination, you leave. And it's not about, that doesn't reflect on that train driver being a bad train driver. That driver is just not going in the direction that other people are wanting to go. And so if people aren't necessarily drawn towards what you're doing, or they put their nose up, just take it as a sign that, you don't want someone who's only dipping their toe into what you're doing, because you're here to build things and start things and get things going. You need people to be 2 feet in so that you can actually travel in the direction you're going. And having that initiating spark is definitely important, and to understand that your energy kind of comes in surges. So you're 200% on, or you're 200% off.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Wow. You smashed that.
Yeah. I'm sort of speechless.
Yeah, I'm speechless too. Right, she's just like X-rayed you.
It's weird hearing it about yourself, because you like to think you know yourself, but when you're looking from the outside in, you're sort of like, is that me? But if he's agreeing, and you're probably somebody who knows me, one of the people who knows me best.
You are both those things that you were just described as, like the first a people pleaser, and in a like you're like all in, or you're all out, like and you're either like, hey, I'll really do my best for you, like it sounds like you're going out of the way for people, blah blah blah, or then you'll just be like, which is awesome. Like, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, he takes no shit. Like, I don't take any shit, but sometimes I'm like, oh.
Someone's going to crack the whip.
Yeah, no, it's so good. That was just like unbelievable.
And so I think that one thing to really understand in terms of making things happen and initiating things, also knowing that you start things, you get things going. It's important to get people on board what you're doing, because when you go into those 200% off phases, you need people to be still kind of building and creating,
maintaining momentum.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to rely on you. You're the person that can light a match and get things started, but it's like, okay, you've got to get people to kind of keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep people added to the fire. So that's an important piece. And then also, when you're going about taking action in the world or initiating things, your strategy is to inform. And what that means is communicating what you're doing or how you're feeling before you just kind of like bring something to life out of the dark. It's actually quite helpful.
Reckon?
Yeah, that's you too. Like, you're pretty good. Like that day when you said you had to, I just need to get this out. It's like, oh my God.
And when you feel that urge,
Kill myself.
that's when you're at.
Yeah. I just got to get this out. I'm like, what? Like a baby.
It was a fart.
Oh my God.
Oh, too funny.
So basically, the other thing to understand is that your aura can actually be quite mysterious. So people, if you think about in life, a lot of us desire certainty. And so if people have like, oh, this person's a bit mysterious, that can subconsciously cause people's hairs to be up a bit on their back. And it's like, oh, what's this person about to do? And if you're communicating what it is that you're doing or what it is that you're feeling, it can sort of help to release resistance when you do initiate or bring something to life. It's like people already know. And I like to think of it like if someone's walking through a crowd and they're saying, excuse me, I'm coming through, you know, people will, that sort of starts to part the waters more than like if you just barge through, you probably get a few elbows and it's a bit of a, there's less ease and flow in that process. And so if you are conscious of continually communicating what it is that you're doing, and the important thing to know is that it's not because you're asking for permission, it's just letting people know who are going to be impacted by what you're doing. It's kind of like, you know, the train driver doesn't just drive away. It says, I'm going here, and then people have the opportunity to join you. Just being conscious of always kind of communicating your process if it's going to impact others.
So being armed with information like that, like a tool, that can alleviate somebody like my personality type's tendency to fall into people pleasing. If rather than asking for permission, you're telling people what you're doing, then there's less likelihood to fall into patterns of people pleasing, which I can do with people whose opinions and I care about.
Yeah. So I guess in your position, and because I've also kind of looked at your astrology as well, and we can see you've got an Aquarius moon, and there is that part of you that can and it's not even you can please a lot of people. You've got an ability to connect, I guess, with a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, and that's
I like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that and you've got great networking gifts, but it's also about, when you go to do something, first of all, it's not about you have to tell every man and their dog. It's just the people that are going to be impacted. And when you do go to tell them, I guess, first of all, make sure that you feel that you've got that level of self-respect and confidence in what you're doing, so that it's not shaky. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this, but being kind of porous and like, oh, I maybe be swayed by what this person says. It's about being really firm and almost imagining like that train track ahead of you, kind of blinkers on, this is what I'm doing. And it's like a courtesy. This is what I'm doing. It's not because you're about to build another train track based on what someone else has told you. So strengthen yourself is really, really important. And knowing that the people that you are welcoming into your life, make sure that they feel like really aligned people, and that those people that really support you, because a lot of your opportunities come through your connections and your network, and the more you're connecting with people on an authentic basis, the more the opportunities will be authentic that come towards you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's you, because you are a networker as well. Like, absolutely you are.
You think?
Yeah. Like, well, just look at all that, like, you do everything for this. Like, the last thing I'm is a networker. Holy hell! Like,
But I enjoy it too. It's not.
Yeah, but you're really good at it. Yeah, you're not a like one of those networkers who's just doing it for the sake of getting stuff yourself. You actually like your network. Those people
It's expanding my experience. That's how I look at it.
Those people, you like those people. It just so happens that they're a good network.
Yeah.
You know what's fascinating is that at least what I can see here is that Matthew's like reflecting back what he sees. And it's funny, when I spoke earlier about having this conscious part of your human design and then an unconscious part, the networking part is actually less conscious for you, David, and it's more conscious for the people around you. So it's quite funny how that's actually being reflected.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah. So you don't actually know you're networking. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're doing it.
Yeah.
Unconsciously or consciously?
Subconsciously?
Subconsciously. It's just part of who you are. It's your nature, right?
Yeah.
And whereas that's not. I'm pretty sure that that's not my nature, but I see that. I'm like, oh wow, that's just what you manifest.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
It's interesting when you say that's not your gift. Like when I look into and this is more specific in terms of like more nuances in your chart. When I look at Matthew's chart, there's definitely a gift in terms of cultivating intimacy, but it's more deep in like one-on-one connection with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
That's really interesting.
That's totally. Yeah. Cool. Okay, carry on. Wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah, and I guess just final thing on the manifestor is that there's always like a emotional theme that you want to be following when it comes to, am I living in alignment or am I not? And manifestors tend to feel kind of like anger or rage if they're not doing what's in alignment. And so if you feel that kind of bubbling up inside of you, that's kind of like, oh, we need to change course in some way, or maybe we do need to express what's inside of ourselves or bring something to life that maybe I'm bottling in, because you're designed to... Your happy place is kind of being free to just do as you wish and live life on your own terms. And it's like the sense of peacefulness that's like yes, I'm like on the path. And so it's like when you feel that sense of peace, that's kind of an indication that, yeah, we're doing things right. And when you feel potentially like anger or rage or however that manifests, first of all, notice if that's been like conditioned out of you. And second of all, don't look at that in a in a bad way. It's actually like, oh, I'm on like the edge of an upgrade here. I just need to take some kind of action in my life to shift, whether it's a small tweak or a big change. I'm going to be ultimately creating more of that sense of peace in my life.
I literally shared something like that this morning, remember?
It's just it's actually unbelievable.
About
what
in
you're
times
saying,
of resistance, it means there's something coming.
What's relating to you is like, it's incredible.
Really?
Yeah, well, for me. Like,
I'm not good at looking inwards.
Yeah, but I am. I clear, so. Well, no. Anyway, carry on.
Before we get into Matthew's reading, it might be interesting for our viewing audience to understand why our location has changed. So what happened when we recorded with Hannah 2 days ago, guys, was that Matthew...
wasn't me.
We had a technical glitch and we lost the last half of our episode. So we've...
No, what happened, people, okay, is that young lady there told us, she said, listen, it stopped recording on my end. And Brainbox here went, doesn't matter. It's recording on our end. Right? That's what she said.
Yeah.
And I said, didn't I say, are you sure? And you went, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to work with a genius, you should have reached out to Bill Gates. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, mate. But don't take it up. But anyway, we're back.
So, Hannah, we were on the cusp of getting into one of the world's most complex human beings.
No.
Matthew John Ridge.
I'm a little bit nervous about this, to be honest, Hannah, because, well, I just am, because you got David's on the money, and I've got a feeling you might get mine on the money too, but let's go.
Let's go. Okay, so we are looking at Matthew's chart, and he has this different energy type to David. He is a generator, and generators comprise about 36% of the population, so they're not...
Quite a lot more than 9%.
Yeah, they're not as rare.
How can you say that about, like, I'm just average?
Matthew's favourite line is literally, there's no one like me. There's no one like me.
But there actually isn't anybody like me that I've met, right? And now Hannah's just saying that there's 36% of the people that are like me.
No,
I haven't met any of them.
Everyone, there's actually like 2 billion possible configurations of a human design chart. So, as I mentioned, the energy type is just the first layer of distinction, and then we get more and more individuals. So I'll speak to what it means to be a generator, and then we can also dive into some more specifics about you. But as a generator, you have this very strong connection to your physical body. Ideally, we want you to be connected to your physical body, and you've got a very strong gut feeling that will let you know if something is right or wrong. And
nuts.
yeah.
So true.
And you've got essentially feelings of either expansion or contraction in your body when something is right or wrong. And when you feel excited, you'll have these physical cues and verbal cues. So whether you are sitting up taller or dancing around or running towards things, or like even making sounds like or leaning in, these
grunting.
These, well, actually the grunt would be an interesting one to pay attention to, because if you've got sounds like or like leaning away, like those little signals nodding there, they are the ones that you really want to pay attention to. It's the ones that are more instinctive and primal.
Okay, can I say something? Because everybody always says that I grunt.
You do.
That I walk around, I'm like,
He does, he'll do it, and I'm like, and I'll be like, you're right. And he's like, oh, was that out loud? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. No, but like, yeah, like people say, but hey, are you okay? Like, because they go, okay, what do you mean? They go, you're always going.
It's like a bear, like walking through the woods.
Is that what you mean? It's
actually important for you to make those sounds, because oftentimes people as kids, we're talking about conditioning, get those sounds kind of conditioned out of them, like, oh, don't be rude, or speak properly, and that's actually going to be less accurate, you could say, in terms of like guiding someone towards what is correct or not for them. And so if you actually go with what naturally flows out of you instantaneously, that's actually going to be much more a better like breadcrumb trail to follow in terms of like what's right or wrong for you.
Okay, so basically just keep grunting.
Yeah, keep grunting.
But I don't even know that I'm grunting.
He doesn't. Yeah, and snorting.
Yeah,
you're weird. You snort.
What?
That's what you do.
No, that's snoring, Dave.
No, well, I don't know about that, but you snort.
Okay.
You snort.
Okay. So keep grunting. Excellent.
Keep grunting.
So
But maybe, what were you going to say?
no, so when the people close to me go, for fuck's sake, can you stop grunting? I go, no, I have to keep grunting. You don't understand.
It's therapy, my doctor Hannah said.
Yeah.
Okay, so pay attention to more like physical cues. So when you're expanded and excited, this is like, yes, we've got the energy to see this thing through. When you've got contraction, that's like if you went to do the thing, it'd probably wipe your energy battery really quickly. And if you're thinking about like setting boundaries, when you feel contracted, that's like the cue to be like, okay, let's put in place a boundary here, because what we can often do, especially if you have been given praise as a child for like compromising your own needs to do things for other people, that can then make a lot of people force their sense of self-worth from going out and doing things at the expense of their own needs. And for generators, it's really important to do the thing that actually lights them up, rather than putting yourself into that space of compromise just to receive validation from the outside world. And so if you consider your expansion like your engine being revved, if your engine is going, like if you think about a car, you can move from destination A, there goes the grunt, destination A to B very easily. And like if you're feeling contracted, think about the engine being off, and like you could push that car manually uphill, but it's going to be a much harder journey. So you're a highly capable person, but if you're doing something out of compromise, you're not going to be left with much in the tank. Whereas if you're doing stuff that really lights you up, seeing people you love, doing activities you like, going to places you really enjoy, you get really uplifted. And we have spoken about how that uplifted energy is infectious, and we need you to be, if you walk into a room, your energy can kind of set the tone, right?
And there can be the opposite effect too. Like if I'm on a downer, because I notice that if I walk into like a room, not full of people, but just a room for 5 or 6 people, and I'm on a bit of a downer, like it immediately affects everybody else.
Yeah, it's like he nukes the vibe
without me even saying anything. I don't even have to say anything. Even if I just go, "Hey, how you going?" Everybody knows that I'm off, and they're like, "Ooh, he's off today."
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so that's why it's even more important. So it's like, you could call it selfish, doing what you love, because it helps to energize you and it brings you into a good state, but it actually has this beautiful ripple effect into other people's lives as well. So,
I got to say, though, that I'm pretty good at that, eh? Like, you say to me, "Oh, mate, can you do this?" And I go, "Nah."
Yeah, which was something I was going to ask. I'm just looking at the couple of these tray on generators, which is Matthew, and stuff like trust your gut, let go of societal shoulds, prioritize joy in your daily life, your happiness attracts aligned opportunities. Like, this is him to a T, but this is stuff he does instinctively, or he's learned.
Yeah.
It's just who you are. So this is ticking his boxes, but in terms of telling him how to live a better life, he's already doing it. So this is basically saying to him, keep doing what you're doing.
That's so weird, because
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people,
which is useful in itself.
People that are like say you like partners, wives, that sort of stuff. They're like, it kind of, after a while, it really frustrates them. Does that make sense? Like, what I've found is, like, at first they're okay with it, and then as things start, because they don't see any compromise, because I just don't compromise, because I know that I'm just going to be in a bad mood, or I'll try and like hide the fact that I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, but I just can't hide it.
But is that an excuse? Like, I mean, is that an effective way to live your life? Just literally doing what you want to do when you want to do it? Like,
yeah, why not? I'm happy.
But how does that mean you only engage with, who do you engage with in it, unless they're happy to just be told exactly what to do and fit in with you?
No, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm telling me what to do.
Yeah, I know that, but it means if you're not slotting into other people's lives, or like participating or being
but I do that. I'm helpful. Are you serious? Like, I go and I clean houses. Hi.
a lot of the time people can get quite
Clean
triggered
houses.
to see other people doing stuff that they love, because often it's a reflection of where they might not be doing that for themselves. And so I think a lot of what human design offers us is this roadmap to actually start living life in a way that's not necessarily the norm. And when you feel triggered, starting to think about, okay, well, where could I be doing more of what I love in my own world? And maybe, if everything starts to sort of tick in a different way, we will start to see how we do benefit each other's lives in like a different way. Whereas right now, like I was saying, a lot of people do get praised for doing things for other people. And there's so many people in this world that are depleted and not really living a fulfilled life. And so there's got to be some kind of change or interrupt in the system. And so this is potentially one way to go about that. And it's not saying, you have to go and do things and bulldoze over people. You don't want to be doing things at the expense of other people. But if you can do things that fill you up, that actually has a really good net positive effect in terms of, you're in a good state, that then ripples out to the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess it does make sense. And I guess it all comes down to communication as well. Being able to communicate the fact that this is the person that I am, and I'll really try and fit in with you. But if you can just be aware that these are my traits. And so if I'm getting on your nerves, let me know. But I'm probably going to still put my hand up and go, stiff shit. Right? Not stiff shit, but yeah, it's actually.
What's your response to that, Hannah?
It's hard to compromise.
I don't think you're agreeing with Matthew.
I think that
it came out wrong.
I think that obviously you've got to be working with people, and I think I definitely agree. Communication is a really important piece, and working towards things that light you up that maybe also light other people up. So if you're doing things that aren't bringing other people joy or hurting other people, then maybe go about focusing on something else. But
of course,
it's
it's common sense, obviously. But like, here's the thing. So the things that make me laugh, or that used to make people laugh, and then the people stop appreciating that. Like, especially do you know what I mean? It, like, I don't know. It's, I guess somebody like me is good in small doses. That'd be.
Depends on the person, right? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
It's a tough one, eh? But I like being around myself.
Yeah, and
I make myself happy.
Yeah, well,
do you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I don't. I always feel like I'm pretty up. I never feel like I'm down. It's like I don't ever get that way, and if I do, I snap out of it real quick. Like, I don't wallow.
Yeah, there's something else. I guess it's slightly different to the generator piece, but something else that I can see in your chart is that it kind of actually goes to this piece of you do have the spiritual side, which basically your connection to your spirituality will be strengthening, especially over the next 3 years. But you've always had this, and maybe not many people would even be aware of this. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is that even as a child, you're deeply, deeply sensitive. And it's like in this life, a lot of people will see what they want to see. So when you're talking about maybe people getting annoyed, sometimes people will project onto you stuff within themselves. And you've likely learned to play a role or hide your sensitivity, and you can be like good at being a performer, but you are deeply connected. And sometimes I think that this might sound like a really strange analogy, but if you think about a person so you're on the second story of a building and you're looking down onto the street, and you can see people walking by, you can see what they're wearing, the color of their clothes, the mannerisms that are going on, body language, whatever. They look up to the second story of a building, and if you think about the glass, all they see is their own shit or their own stuff. And so that kind of dynamic can play out in relationships where it's like you can see the other person clearly, but they don't necessarily see
It's so interesting. Can I tell you an example? By the way, I love your analogies for my brain.
Yeah, that was unreal.
They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal.
But that's so true.
We were talking to somebody yesterday, and they were saying, because a lot of with this podcast is that what I like in doing it is that people hopefully who watch will get to see a more rounded version of Matthew, because I think he's not that he needs to be understood, but he's been misunderstood, and there's so much more to him. And this friend was saying, they were talking to somebody about the podcast, and they were like, "Oh, that Matthew Ridgey, he's such a show pony. I saw him at a sports game once, and his kid's sports game, and after the game, he was with his son, and he was singing and jumping around with the son, and da 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 da, and he was, he just wanted all eyes on him." And I was like, that is Matthew, but he does that over here too, where nobody knows him. That is literally who he is, and he's not thinking about what other people are looking at, what other people are saying. He's just like releasing this in a child.
Exactly
it's so like, and so that to me is like, that is what people do to him, is that, or generator types, maybe they project this vision of what they want to see, or why they might be behaving like that, whereas that's not what he's doing.
Yeah, and this is slightly separate to the generator thing. It's just other things in his chart where you can see that. And yeah,
it happens to you all the time.
Playful energy is definitely there, and that's part of your gifts, is to bring playful energy, like lighthearted, joyful from the heart. But I think in terms of this, it's part of your profile of 5-1 in human design. People can definitely project stuff onto you that takes a bit of, like you're talking about, communication of actually what your true intention is or what you really stand for.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
It's fascinating about that spiritual side coming through too and getting stronger, because...
Yeah, but I found that, like, I started, like, at 30, 31, I was like, oh, what's this world all about? Like, it can't be just about money and flippant, and I was just like, I started reading, and that's when I think the first book I read was a book by Gary Zukav. It was The Seat of the Soul. And it's a real basic, but it was a beautiful book. I was like, wow. And then I've read Tolley and, found all those books, and I was reading heaps. I was just like, just changed my dial, right? I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, but then you kind of
and then
did
I
a deviation.
dovetailed into like, oh, I'm just going to get smashed. And so I did that. But I still, underneath, I had all that going on, but it wasn't my focus. Not that it's my focus now, but I'm well aware of what's, where I'm supposed to be going, as opposed to what I've been doing.
It's really, really interesting you mentioned that timing, because basically, did you see the light flash again?
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, this is just too weird. So that happened last time. Was it lightning?
That is so weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it lightning last?
So weird. Yeah. I don't know what the hell.
It was in the bit that was cut, but we had the exact same thing.
Maybe you guys were the reason that my apartment. That was actually a storm came through, and I had lost power up until literally just an hour before this call.
Maybe really with it. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
But what I was going to say is that you basically every 30-ish or 29 and a half years, technically, you go through what's called a Saturn return, and you're literally on the brink of going through another Saturn return. And this is where, everyone goes through some kind of maturing around this period in their life, and there's like a self-reflection, growth, change, mastering some kind of lessons. For you specifically, this is where that spiritual connection really comes in quite strong, and so that's why I've emphasized it in terms of what you're kind of transitioning into. Also for you, it's about being seen in a slightly new light.
What was that, sorry?
Also for you, it's sort of about also being seen in a slightly new light, or letting your identity shift a bit.
Yeah, that's very true. Like just doing, the stuff that I've been doing, and people are like, oh, I didn't think he was like that.
Yeah,
and not that that's important to me, but like it's kind of nice to get rid of that, that old facade.
Yeah.
But
and to be comfortable with people seeing more of that, because when
I'm comfortable with it anyway.
No, hang on. No, you're not. Hang on. So, like when we're talking to a friend, the meditation specialist, before the episode, Matthew was like, "Well, I'm not going to talk about the fact that I meditate." So you were there was some level of concern, and when we got into it, he wasn't.
No, but that's because I don't like, when people talk about, like I'm a spiritual person, or I meditate, or I do that, or do that. It kind of puts you out on a plane where you think like it's just a little bit special, or like, if you stop doing drinking or stop substance, or you're just cleaning.
But
your back up,
you're
right?
not that, right? So you're just worried how people will react to it. So you are worried. Well, you were worried.
Yeah, but like you don't want to put yourself out there, so you think you're like people could be looking at you going, oh, he thinks he's so much fucking better than us.
Are you worried about what they think?
Yeah, but everybody. Yeah, but hang
But you
on,
know that you're not.
Yeah, but hang on, let me finish. It's like all through my life, people have always said, oh, he thinks he's so fucking cool. Oh, he thinks he's this. Oh, he thinks he's that. Oh, he's da-da-da. And so then I'm going, okay. And then I'm transitioning to another, sphere or like stage in my life, and it could be turned around the other way. Oh, now he thinks he's fucking this. Now he thinks he's that. Do you know? Like, I guess it's because I'm sensitive to that, because that's what I've had to put up with. Mm-hmm. I've always had to put up with the judgmental side, like of people judging, who they think I am or whatever. So I don't want to think people to think that I think I'm any better than again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But now you're learning that no matter what you do, because of potentially being a generator, whatever you do, they're going to potentially misinterpret.
Totally.
So just go with it.
Yeah. No, I do.
Is that right?
I do. I can't fight my natural nature, right? But I do think about it. It doesn't stop me, but it does. I do think about it.
Yeah, and I think that's where so the other thing, I guess, with the Saturn return, so over the next 3 years, there's a level of owning who you are, so allowing yourself to be in a new light, which definitely requires like grit. Like a Saturn return is not to be all doom and gloom, but it's not an easy transit. It's like a deep maturing, and you kind of go through discomfort, but there's so much growth that comes through the other side of it. And I think that owning that sensitivity, because that's also something that sometimes people can hide, and probably, like we've sort of emphasized, is that I don't think a lot of people would expect that or know that. And I think that just I guess challenging yourself to step into that and allowing that to be seen a bit more is important. And honestly, you can see both of you have sensitivity and like softer emotional sides that maybe there's been
well, I guess if people don't expect to see it because you've got a hard exterior, or not a hard exterior, but I say it how I see it, and I can be pretty cutting if I want to be, or like sometimes I get why people think.
Yeah, but everyone thinks something. People think I'm cold. I don't think I'm cold. I can be, but I'm not.
Anyway,
enough about us.
Yeah, it's enough about us. It's fascinating, though.
But I did want to ask Hannah, just in a practical sense. So, like, when clients come to you, they come for obviously this sort of information, and you give them feedback on how they can implement their lives. I thought it'd be interesting to ask you, knowing what you know about us, how that we could harness these tools and information to help us in a working relationship with this podcast. Because while we work pretty well as a team, there is a level of disconnect in terms of, as you mentioned earlier, I'm 200% in.
Hey, I'm 150%. I'm 200% in too, but you just do all the work.
Okay, which is fine. But Hannah also mentioned that I will go through phases of being 100% out. So what happens when the person who does the heavy lifting is 100% out, and old mate who doesn't?
Yeah, I'm 100% out as well. It's fucking easy, mate. What are you talking about?
So this is a case of like, it's more about me understanding that there will be no compromise on this, and he's not going to budge in terms of like stepping up to other aspects of what we do, and not trying to keep pushing.
If you think about how he needs the engine being revved in order to go, there does need to be some form of like excitement around what's going to happen. The one thing that I guess, so you as the manifestor are here to initiate things, and if you...
Is that me?
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah, so if you're bringing in something new, like communicate that. An important part for you is communicate, which also, I mean, this is a whole other tangent, but communication is really important for you in general, obviously the podcast is a great thing in terms of communication, but just in general, communication is really important. Like Matthew as a generator can build energy around ideas or things that you bring to the table, but there needs to be that excitement and that go before you do anything. And in terms of, I guess, building a business together, like you could even speak about the overall vision. And if you can, one thing I would say, if you're wanting to, I don't know if it's like play the system, it's like finding new ways to get him excited about something could actually be one way to get your way.
So what he's basically talking about, okay, is like he does all the editing and like cuts the things. And
I've had to learn.
Puts the reels out and like but I knew he would do this, right? I just knew it, and I knew
you
he'd
hoped.
Hang on. And I knew he'd be really good at it, right? And he's good at it because he gets our humour. Like he just gets the funny, he just puts out the stuff that's us, right? And it's authentically us, right? So he understands it. But for me to do that, I would just find that, like, even Lee was showing me how he was doing it last night and just chopping and changing, doing all this shit. I'm just like, oh my God, like.
Yeah, but you got quite engaged on that. Like Matthew was like, cut this, do this, do this.
But
I'm like,
I
don't have to do my job. But it was good. It was better.
But I can tell you what to do, but I don't want to do all that flipping shit, because I'm not. Look. I've just learned how to Airbnb. I book my own tickets now.
You can Uber.
I can Uber. I haven't got an Uber Eats yet.
Who taught you this?
No,
I initiated it.
You initiated it. But
so
I've actually gone, like, I'm doing almost like, mate, me booking my own flights, booking my own accommodation, finding my own stuff, like that's massive for me because I've always had, like, a wife or my kids, and I've decided, no, I've got to do this shit on my own.
Okay, we'll find someone to interview. That might be rewarding.
I found Jamie.
You haven't sealed the deal on Jamie, Matthew. She's your daughter, and she's not even giving you 100%.
Hannah. Didn't I?
No, you fucking didn't. Hannah found us.
Oh, did you find us?
I did. I got sent your podcast.
Wow.
We've mentioned that at the beginning. That was the other day, so you might have forgotten.
Oh, yeah, but that's amazing that you, like, thank goodness you found us. Like,
I think we would have anyway.
You found us.
2 lightning strikes.
Yeah.
And we're still going. I guess quickly back to what we were talking about before, I guess one of the things I need to work through is the fact that I've always been quite sifty, and being pushed into doing this, I'm begrudgingly enjoying it and having to come to terms with the fact that I have a work ethic that I never knew that I did.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good thing. He saw it in me.
Yeah.
It was a punt. That was a risk.
Yeah, but I've got a work ethic too.
I'm not saying that you don't.
Things, yeah.
But I'm just saying that I know me, and there will be a point where that work ethic for a short amount of time, maybe it won't be a short amount of time, it evaporates. So
yeah, maybe.
If you're up, okay. Well,
maybe.
then for people watching and listening, then expect blanks in our schedule.
Yeah,
okay.
But not too long, because then
you can't say that to me because I can't just switch back online.
Okay, mate. Well, whatever floats your boat. Okay.
All right? But you can. 200%, excuse me, because you're 200% on, can you not like batch a whole bunch of content and then have that to like?
Which is what we're doing.
That's what we're doing now.
Because I go away, we both go in different directions.
So he's just
We've
having
done 10
a
in 2 weeks. I am having a whinge, but I'm entitled to have a whinge, and I think everyone who listens to us needs to know what it's like behind the scenes.
Yeah, fair enough. They don't care.
Yeah,
is there anything else? Because Hannah's a busy lady.
I know Hannah's a busy lady.
Can we want to make business?
I was going to say we want to make Hannah busier. So for people listening. Because I said to you the other day, I'm going to come and do some one-on-one, well, via remote with you because I'm fascinated. Matthew's going to do the same too.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, my husband, I've sold him too. So people come to you. How do they find you, first of all? How does it work? What do you cost? All that sort of stuff.
You can hop to my Instagram. So that is just Hannah Crerar, and my website is hannahsoulpsychology.com, and I have one-on-one readings available. I've got courses, lots of different options in that sense.
We will put links up, but Crerar is spelled C-R-E-A-R-E-R, if I'm not mistaken.
C-R-E-R-A-R.
Okay. C-R-E-R-A-R, Crerar. It's a very, it's a nice name, but I've never heard of Crerar. It sounds like a Porsche Carrera.
Close.
It does, just without the...
Porsche.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah, Crerar. Yeah,
So
they would say that,
people can come to you in person in Sydney, obviously,
Yep.
or
yeah, but
just like this, because I feel like would be as rewarding as being in person. So you can FaceTime, you can Skype, you can Zoom, all of it. And are you happy to tell people how much you charge?
I'll tell you. I reckon it's about 180.
Oh my God, he's psychic as well.
Oh, well, right, 180.
And we're talking Aussie dollars, not euros.
But hang on, can I? Yeah. So that's Aussie dollars. So that's like, so it's 90 euro, or that's 100 euro. It's bugger all. So, and how long is that for an hour session?
Yeah.
And so in that hour, I'll come away with, okay.
Pretty comprehensive understanding, yeah.
More validation.
So the process is I get in contact, I send you my birth dates and all that sort of stuff, and then you go away and work on that, and then we sit down and we have a chat for an hour about whatever, about what you found.
And people come with lots of different kind of intentions, like whether it's just understanding themselves, or if they want to look into the way that their relationship dynamic works with someone, or if they've got certain career goals. You can definitely look at it through lots of
So it can be applied to all aspects of your life. So what we've done today and the other day, the info you've given us, we can drill way deeper, right? Because obviously you're saying in Matthew's chart there's this and this. Presumably that just goes on and on and on.
Way deeper, yeah. We've just like scratched this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we better. The one thing I do have to learn is how to Zoom or Skype or whatever that is.
I'm not going to show you. You're a big boy now.
But anyway, hey, thank you so much. It's been a real treat, like getting to know you and just like, well, you obviously know us like inside out, which is crazy. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us. Actually,
yeah, it's been
and the lightning.
Literally.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That was
Two
weird.
times.
That was weird. It's a pleasure, Hannah. What you're doing is amazing. Like, you're putting some amazing tools out there for people. So I can't wait for our one-on-one chat. Really
Yeah.
good. Maybe come back again one day. We'd love that. Thank you for finding time.
Yeah, I would
again.
love that. Actually, we'll get it back on. 100%. Like down the give us a couple of months because she'll be so busy, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Bye, Hannah.